Bob's Breakfast.
Electronic miscommunication. We've all done it. When have you done this? When have you sent a text or an email to the wrong person? I had a very embarrassing incident my first day at a brand new radio station, which was probably about 200, maybe 300 miles from where I was living at the time, and I drove all the way up there, and Julie said to me, as soon as you get up there, text me to say you got there okay. So I get to the front door of the radio station, and I texted Julie, got here, I'm standing at the front door of this radio station, I love you. And then later in the afternoon, while I'm sitting next to the female boss, who was a lovely lady, in the office, I was on the next computer to hers, preparing to go on the air in the afternoon, I get another text from Julie that says, I thought you were going to text me when you got there. Did you get there okay? What's going on? So I texted her back, yeah, and then I checked, and I'd actually texted my new boss. I mean, and a text that you would have expected. I'm here, I'm at the front door. Well, on the first day, you might get that text as a boss, and then I finished it with, I love you. And she'd sat next to me most of the day and hadn't said a word. What's that all about? I mean, I'm wondering, does she normally even sit there? But she'd got this text and thought she'd fancied her chances. I don't know.
Bob's Breakfast.
Chris Hubbard, how's your news?
Pyjamagate is spreading across the world. Last week, we heard that school teachers in one part of the country were telling parents not to turn up to dropping their kids off wearing pyjamas, not to turn up in assembly wearing pyjamas, and even parents' evening in some cases. Well, now a judge over in Pennsylvania says he's had enough of people wearing pyjamas to court. He's now put up a sign in the lobby banning any bedtime wear. He took action because he said more and more people were turning up for hearings, court hearings, at his county court in their pyjamas.
I could not disagree more with this judge.
What is this?
People should be free to wear pyjamas when they drop their children off at school. They should be free to attend parents' evenings at school wearing pyjamas, and people should have the freedom to appear in court wearing their pyjamas if they want. Otherwise, how will we possibly know that they are losers? And how's this student, Hannah Speed? She's 19. She leaves home in Salisbury. She goes to Durham University. She's fiddling around on the internet, and she sees a room on Airbnb for rent. It's her room at home. Her mother had let her room out. That's when she knew that she wasn't a kid anymore, and now she was on her own. What was the moment that you realised this? Gary?
1976, just turned 16.
Yeah.
The lovely hot summer, which was very lucky for me.
Yes.
I left school on the Friday, went home, no qualifications, basically treated school as just a playground. Walked indoors, and there on the table was a brown square suitcase, the old style.
Yeah. With
a couple of tank tops, maybe some flared trousers, a £20 note, and a one-way ticket out of New Street Station to London. And my dad said to me, he said, that's fun time over. You're on the first train out on Monday morning. Make a life.
A one-way ticket to London. And so, wow. So
and I was only 16, just turned 16.
So the Monday morning comes, you get on the train. What happens then?
I get on the train, I get off at Euston.
Yeah.
I wander around, wondering what to do.
Yeah.
End up, the first night I did sleep slept rough.
Right, wow.
I still had £20, which was quite a lot in them days.
Yeah.
I ended up in Waltham Cross the next day.
Yeah.
Looking through, just looking in shop windows, and there was a card in there saying kennel hand wanted, living accommodation.
Yeah.
£16 a week, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I rang it up, a fella called Don Huckster. What's the name? He answered, and I said, is the job still available? I'm standing in Waltham Cross. And he went, I'll come and get you. And I was there 10 years.
And it was a great job?
Well, I was there 10 years. We ended up I ended up falling on my feet because we had some very good dogs.
Yeah.
So basically, 10 years my life training greyhounds.
And it was the making of you.
Well, I didn't go to prison, as what it said on my actual leaving form from a fellow called Mr. Tebbix, my deputy head, wrote on it, I will be very surprised if this child doesn't end up in prison.
Bob's Breakfast.
And I can't stand the rapid-fire question round at the end if you're shopping.
What's this?
Do you have a loyalty card? No. Are you collecting the school vouchers? No. Do you need a parking ticket? No. Do you need a bag? No. Yes! When you realised you're not a kid anymore, and now you're on your own. When was it for you? Julia?
16-year-old, threw a strode out, I'm leaving, all dramatic like.
Yeah.
Went sort of stayed overnight for a weekend with my friends and went home, thought that, you know, my mum would be all sort of, oh, you know, so glad to see you home, etc.
Yeah.
So we've got a gate, sort of a rear entrance through the back gate.
Yeah.
My mum was clipping the hedge as I walked up.
Yeah.
And she went, oh, it's you. And then she said, wait for a moment. And I sort of like stood there a bit puzzled. And she came out with a black bag.
And it had your stuff in it.
That's it, yeah.
She didn't want you to come home.
I was a bit dumbfounded. I mean, we all got sorted out within a few days, but I don't know whether she planned it or just sort of give me a bit of a shock and not to throw the drama queen act or whatever. But yeah, so I was back the following weekend because.
Wow, reality check. So you took the black bag and walked away.
Well, it wasn't a lot I could do. It was like, oh, right, okay, yeah. All right, yeah, see you then, you know.
Goodness me. Almost got myself thrown out of a West End theatre on Saturday night.
What were you up to?
Well, I thought it was something quite minor, but it's something they don't take too kindly to. You know, for Christmas, Julie said, I don't want stuff, I want an experience.
Yeah.
So I got tickets to the Garrick Theatre in the West End to see a play called Red Velvet.
Okay, that's a nice theatre.
Yeah, and not a musical. This is a proper serious play. Very, very good play, by the way. Excellent. So when I have a day out, I do like to take lots of pictures and tweet them. Twit pics. So we get to the theatre, and I don't know if you saw, I tweeted a picture of the stage from our seat.
I didn't see this, no.
We're in the third row,
yeah,
right in the middle of the stage. So almost the best seat in the house, very close to it.
You don't want to be on the front row.
A bit too close. Yeah. But it was brilliant seats. So I twit-picked a picture at the beginning of these are our seats, look at this, you know. The first half of the performance starts, and I know you're not supposed to, I quickly took a picture of the actors on the stage.
Yeah.
No flash, very quickly, within seconds. It wasn't like I was taking a video or something. I just lifted up my phone, click, done. Right? So the interval comes, and the bloke, now Julie's on my left. There's a bloke next to me on the right that hasn't said a word. Well, he disappears. We didn't need ice creams or anything. We just sat there. He comes back, and within seconds of him coming back, I hear, sir, 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 and it's an usher.
That's never good.
And I said, yeah? That photograph you took, can you delete it, please?
What?
And I went, yeah, all right. She went, no, can you delete it now? All right. So I get my phone out.
Yeah.
And found the photo, and I deleted it. I said, there you go, look, it's gone. Showed her the phone.
Yeah.
Can you go into your deleted files and delete it from there as well? I said, I don't even know how to do this. And the only reason why I deleted it so quickly, this is Julie's Christmas present.
Yes.
I'm not going to ruin the night out.
No, of course you're not.
Right? And there's hundreds of people in this theatre. They've come to see a show. They're getting one. I'm the show. I'm starring in a two-handed farce with this usher.
This is the halftime entertainment.
Halftime entertainment, like the Super Bowl. Like I'm Coldplay now. So I said, I don't know how to do that. She said, if you go into, I'm like, oh, come on. This is a full-on performance. Everybody's
clearly,
watching and listening.
If you're asking how to delete this, that you're not going to be using this picture in the future.
Of course,
or whatever
I'm not
she's worried
technically
about.
minded. Yes. So I'm farting around with it. And, of course, we're right in the front of the theatre. This is not like we're hidden away in the back and this is just going on quietly. This is now a lot of people craning heads from other rows, see what's going on. I'm like, and she goes, no, you go in there. I find this file she's on about. It's all photos. So I go in there. I said, I can't see it. She said, it'll be at the top. I'm like, oh, okay. Find it at the top. Delete. I said, there you go. Fine. Okay, thank you. So I sat down, I said to Julie, could you believe that? And she's like, no. She says, somebody's dobbed you in.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, yeah, who would? And then I'm thinking the bloke next to me who nipped out quickly and came back, he didn't come back with an ice cream and he wasn't gone long enough to have gone to the toilet because there would have been a queue. It was definitely him.
You got a snitch in your midst.
Yes, definitely. What kind of... I was doing him no harm.
No.
I wasn't ruining it for him. Like I say, no flash, no fuss, no big deal. What's it to him? He's decided to go out of his way to potentially, because it didn't, potentially ruin the night for a total stranger. Who would do that? Ruin somebody's night? What kind of snivelling snitch would you have to be that mean-spirited that you thought, oh, that's against the rules, so I'm going to report you? What kind of a person does that? Well, I thought, well, I'm not losing, I'm going to win.
Okay. Well, he's obviously met the wrong person.
Absolutely met the wrong person. Actually, before the curtain went up, I went to Google and I Googled the play and I Googled images and I found a picture from on the stage that was taken from about where we were sat. Right. A nice picture of the play in action from the first half.
Yeah.
Almost as good as the picture I'd taken. Very similar perspective. So I downloaded it. And I loaded it up onto the screen of my phone and I held it out. And I said to Julie really loudly, I'm holding the phone out at arm's length so this bloke could see it. And I went, you know what? That's the best picture I've taken in here tonight. It's better than the one I deleted. Way better. That's the best picture. I'm glad she didn't make me delete this one. But right, I'm not having that. So, curtain goes up. Second half, lights go down. Lights go down. And I notice this bloke next to me, he's got both elbows on the armrests and he's cradling his chin on it. I mean, he's really into this play.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, at least 50% of that armrest is mine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At least. And I'm taking no prisoners now. If this is the way you want to play it. So I got my elbow on it and I thought, I'll just touch his elbow. So I leaned so my elbow's touching his. How uncomfortable must that have been touching, stranger touching public? I would hate it.
Yeah.
So I'm actually just touching it and enjoying the play. So then his elbow moves a little bit. It's only a thin armrest. His elbow moves to about halfway on the armrest. So I move mine over and I'm touching again. So then his elbow comes off the armrest.
Yeah.
And he folds his arms. So I'm really onto it now. I'm really winning. So,
this is mind games.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So then I moved my foot so my shoe is touching his shoe on the floor. And that lasted about 3 seconds and he moved his foot about an inch away.
Really?
So I counted to 10 and I moved it and I got it touching again. And then he moved his foot away again. So then I knew I had him because we couldn't have been 10 minutes into the second half. He's looking at his watch.
How long have I got to sit next
This
to
guy's crazy. So I could see him looking, he's got his arms folded and he's looking at his watch. He's having his night's ruined.
Yes.
Completely ruined. And he's squashed up in the corner of his seat now, getting as far away from me as he can. So then the play finishes, and it was a great play, standing ovation. So we're all standing up and clapping. Of course, I'm clapping with my right-hand elbow right out here, nudging him here, right, every clap. There wasn't a clap I missed when he didn't get elbowed.
I bet you've never clapped so
No,
enthusiastically.
so enthusiastically. The elbow went in, many times, 10, maybe 20 times. He literally got the elbow from me. So then I turned to Julie and said, because she's no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
She turned to her and I said, that was really good, wasn't it? She said, yeah, it was great. I turned and I looked for this other fella. He disappeared.
Completely.
He must have been the first person out of the theatre. Must have been.
It made me wonder what you were going to do right after the performance.
Well, if he'd have stayed, I was going to ask him could I have a selfie with him.
It's Bob.
This week, London paramedic Catherine Maynard helping an elderly man who'd fallen over when David Beckham walked past. 10 minutes later, Beckham is back with a cup of coffee and a cup of tea for them both. And a bundle of publicity for himself. So everybody wins. I'd like to know, you had a brush with fame? Who've you met? What were they like? Jackie?
We met Lady Gaga in Selfridges.
When?
About 18 months ago, and she was really dressed down. She had a tracksuit on and a woolly hat. And we were going down the escalator, and my kid said, "That's Lady Gaga." And in this life, you only get one chance.
Right.
And I said, "Come on, kids, let's go." So they hurtled after her, and she was so good, you know, because you have to be polite. It is that, you know, they should have a private life. But she was so nice, and she was so nice to the children. And then I met Paul Weller and Howard.
Wait a second. Is this the same day?
No, it wasn't. It was a different day.
Okay, right. Well, let's
he was sat in a chair.
All right.
So he couldn't get away
wait
from
a
me.
second.
He had nowhere to go.
Lady Gaga
No,
first. Was she with
I've got
anyone?
loads to tell you.
have?
I've got loads
I
to
know
tell
you
you.
have. Okay, all right. Well, I'll let you go. Then go on. Your Paul Weller was sat in a chair. Nicholas Parsons,
in a
right?
pub.
Yes.
Ben Shepherd's the other day in a hotel near us, actually.
Right. Okay.
He was quite nice, but I didn't do what I'd like to have done with him because unfortunately.
All right. Now I'm sorry I've let you go.
And the best one was Youre.
Eeyore?
Oh yes, I met Youre at Disney, and he was the best.
You met Lady Gaga and Paul Weller, and you're saying some out-of-work actor in a sweaty suit at Disney was a bigger thrill?
I know, but you know what? It just made my day. He was just gorgeous.
Bob's Breakfast.
Pancake Day.
Oh, it certainly is, isn't it?
I remember when we first moved back to the UK in 1997, Julie had never heard of Pancake Day. They don't have it in New Zealand. And I said, "Oh, it's Pancake Day tomorrow." And Julie's like, "What?" I'm like, "It's Pancake Day." She's like, "What's that?" I said, "It's the day when we all eat pancakes." And Julie went, "You have a day for that?" I went, she said, "This is the greatest country in the world." Morning, Jackie.
You know, the other day we were talking about who we met famously.
Yes.
I met Martin Kemp last night.
Where at?
Chitty Bang Bang. And Jason Manford.
So you went out to the theatre and they were what? In the theatre, West End?
Yeah, and Martin Kemp was terrible.
What do you mean he was terrible?
He was so bad it was funny.
What? No, he was in the show.
Oh, yeah, really bad.
Oh, dear.
Don't tell anyone, though.
Okay, be our secret. But how did you get to meet him?
Oh, I went backstage like you do when you're my age.
Now, how did you black that?
Well, because I just do. No, you wait at the stage door like any other numpty.
And who does Martin Kemp play in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
He plays a child catcher.
Oh, does he? Right.
Which
Robert
is a really
Helpman's role in
weird-
the film.
Weird, you know.
Lollipop.
I wouldn't boo him anyway, but he kept getting his coat caught in the bicycle, and then he came down from a balcony on a rope and landed in a heap on the floor of the stage. He didn't even land on his feet.
Oh, dear.
And of course, you just go, "Oh no!" And me and my sense of humour, I fell about laughing because I thought it was hilarious.
Now, did you say anything to him backstage?
I said, "I've waited all my life for this." I couldn't breathe. How weird! I couldn't.
So
breathe.
you
I
didn't
couldn't
mention
take
it?
my breath in.
Ah, did you behave yourself? You didn't.
No.
What did you do?
I was walking down towards the back door, and my daughter saying to me, "Mum, please don't kiss him. Mum, please don't kiss him." I said, "Catherine, I can't tell you what I'm going to do. You're just going to have to go with the flow, babe."
So did you swoop in? Did you pucker up?
Let's just say the red Dior lipstick wasn't wasted.
Oh, you went for the full-on snogathon. The poor guy.
It didn't matter how bad he was on stage. It was still Martin Kemp.
I know. Now, you say he's bad. He's had a few accidents there. You say he fell on the floor and he caught his... So these are just
he was
accidents.
rubbish. He was terrible. I can't begin to tell you how bad he was.
No, but it sounds
even
like...
at the end,
Yes.
even at the end on the finale, Catherine looks at me and says, he's dancing like a dad.
Oh, he's that bad. Right.
Yeah, and I'm going, he is a dad. It's okay.
Okay.
He's a dad.
All right. So
it doesn't matter.
So he's had a rough night at the theatre, and
really bad.
then a creepy stalker gets him in a lip block in the dressing room.
Exactly, hanging round his ankles. He's got all 4'11" of me, and he's got to be 6'4".
Oh dear!
Hilarious!
All right.
I loved every minute of it, and I smiled all the way home, which was about an hour.
Thanks for sharing, Jackie.
Bye.
Bob's Breakfast.
Has a cruise ever appealed to you?
No, it really hasn't, because you can't get off the ship, can you?
Well, this is the thing, and looking at some of the pictures in the papers this morning, bad weather really affects cruise ships. A Royal Caribbean cruise ship is heading home after being battered by a hurricane over in the Bahamas. Passengers were being ordered to stay in their cabins as the world's third largest cruise liner was hit by 40-foot waves. It just looks horrific.
It's one of those. Most holidays, I suppose, are dependent on the weather, which you can't control. Cruising's never appealed to me, but yeah, you have a bad. I've been on the closest I got was a bad crossing on the Vomit Comet, which is it's a jet cat that goes between Poole in Dorset and Jersey.
I've
been on that?
Between, I think it was Dorset and Guernsey,
right.
Which is a similar stretch of water,
isn't
it?
It's the same cat. You have a rough crossing on that, you know about it. Luckily, we flew to Jersey. It was because we had to I was working for a radio station down there, and we had to do an outside broadcast from a hotel in Jersey. It was horrific. The tourist board were involved, and I fell out with them because I said something, and they didn't like it, and they wanted me to apologise, and the tourist woman was sat right in front of me the whole thing, and I wouldn't apologise, and I didn't. It got to the end of the show. Very awkward.
That's unusual for you.
Yes, and the Jet Cat people who were also sponsoring it, we went back on the Jet Cat, but the tide, we had to wait for hours for the tide or something. Anyway, we finally got on this thing, and we'd left on like Friday night, and this was the Sunday afternoon. I just wanted to go home. I was tired, and we got on this thing, and then the swell came up, and I swear there was a kid on the next kind of table to me, and I looked away and I looked back at the kid, and it looked like the kid had exploded. The kid was just covered in sick. The kid had I think the kid had we crested a wave. I think the kid had been sick, the boat had gone down, and then the sick came down on the kid. Looking for suggestions on what to have on your pancakes. Siobhan.
I have magic mushrooms on my pancakes.
Magic mushrooms, the ones that make you all trippy, like the LSD.
Yeah, the ones at the garden. Yeah.
At the garden. What do you get? Do you go on a trip? All psychedelic. Yeah, I don't think you have magic mushrooms. That's all.
Oh, they taste magic.
I don't think that's why they're called the ones that are called magic mushrooms. I don't think they're called that because of the taste.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
This is Bob.
Here's a lesson. If you've started a relationship with someone online, maybe wait a while. Maybe really get to know them before you go ahead, sell your stuff, save up for a plane ticket, and plan your wedding. Because a woman called Evangelina, who's from Stevenage, says she's been left heartbroken and homeless after finding out the man that she planned to marry was secretly dating multiple women behind her back.
No.
She'd met 38-year-old Daryl Brown Fancy online 9 months ago when he added her on Facebook. They'd continued to chat, and they'd been messaging back and forth, became friends, eventually fell in love. As the story goes, they talked on the phone and over Facebook every day. Daryl then proposed in December. She said yes and started plans to move to Toronto. She planned to wear her wedding dress to the airport so they could get married immediately after meeting.
Wear her wedding dress to the airport?
Mm-hmm.
So she was checking a change on the plane? So that is that what the deal was?
Well, it sounds like she was actually going to be wearing the wedding dress on the plane to be honest.
Well, that's fraught
so
with
she
danger
could-
because they're white. They show the muck.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what those stewardesses are like with coffee?
Yes.
Sometimes. She said at the time, I know some people must think we're crazy as I've never seen him on video chat or in person. She said at the time...
She'd never even seen him on a video chat.
No, she'd seen the photos, but I know,
Okay, all right.
I know in my heart he's the man.
Oh, right, yeah. And it turned out he was a dog.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's her name?
Evangelina.
Evangelina. My heart goes out to you, Evangelina. Now, look, I don't want to judge, but and I don't know Evangelina. I've never met her. And this is the first time I'm hearing this story. But I know this much: Evangelina's over 30.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
because something happens to women when they get to 30. They get totally desperate. The women who I've met who have hit that magic age of 30, it's any port in a storm. Really. I know one, and you, in fact, both of these examples, Chris Hubbard, you know these people, so we're not going to be too specific.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's, well, first of all, we don't want to get sued. And secondly,
Yeah, priorities.
both of them are borderline crazy and anything could happen and we could be stalked and things could go wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you know both of these people I'm talking about.
Right.
One of them hit the magic age of 30. She goes to rent a flat. She meets the landlord. Next minute, they've moved in together. I mean, literally that fast.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Right. And same person goes online looking for love and is now shacked up with the person she found. She's not messing about. I tell you, when that biological clock is ticking, it's loud. It's loud. And they just run straight into... And no, I'm not saying, and both of these fellas that I'm on about were great blokes who I met.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, if you meet a woman over 30 and she's single and you're a bloke, just back off a little, because if you're not careful, if it's not what you're looking for, it's what they're looking for. And the other one, who you also know, worked at, shall we say, a radio station somewhere in the world.
Okay.
And this person, we had, like, with radio station, you have computers that run the music and the commercials and stuff. And from now and again, they go wrong. And the people who sell the computer programs have to come in and sort things out. And we had one of those situations at this radio station somewhere in the world. And one of these guys showed up at the radio station to fix the computer. And this lady who had just hit 30 was working there at the time. And he was fresh meat. And she did things in the wrong order. There's two things she did. She researched him on Facebook, and she also wrote her phone number down and put it underneath his windscreen wiper.
Ooh.
Now, she didn't do it in that order. She wrote his phone number down. She wrote her phone number down.
Yes.
And she put it on a card underneath his windscreen wiper in the car park of the radio station.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Okay, all right. All right. Yeah, that's as far as we need to go. Okay. Do you remember when this happened at this radio station somewhere in the world? Anyway, so her phone number is underneath his windscreen wiper, and then she decides to go and research him on Facebook, which is when she found out he was gay.
That's right. Yes. Do your
She
research.
then had to keep him in the building so she could get out and mess with his windscreen wiper to get her number. Just a nightmare. So, women over 30, you got to feel for them. Because I wouldn't be single for quids. I really wouldn't. I was very lucky. I met Julie when I was 21. So I was very, very lucky. But if that doesn't happen to you and you get to 30, you just got to ladies, you just got to back down a little bit, or you could make a fool of yourself. Which is what happened to this person we were just on about, but it's also what's happened to, what's her name in Stevenage?
Oh, this is Evangelina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did she get on the plane in the wedding dress
No.
and fly to Toronto? She found out
Fortunately
before.
not. She's found out before, which is
See,
fortunate.
she did the
fortunate
research.
for her.
It's another case of doing the research too late. Do the research as early as you can, ladies. Scientists have discovered gravity waves. They reckon now They can see back in time and space to just after the Big Bang. Einstein predicted it 100 years ago, and now they've found evidence that he's right. And I have a theory of my own. The Graham Mack theory of everything. Inspired by the discovery of the gravity waves. Now what they're saying is they might be able to see back in time to just after the Big Bang. The Big Bang, the theory suggests that everything in the universe came from one thing. There was originally a singularity, one thing, and it exploded. And that explosion is the universe. All the bits of it, including you and me, were all stardust. It could explain my theory based on the fact that each successive generation of human beings is more stupid than the one before. My parents, I thought they were very clever. I still think they're clever. The things my dad could do, I cannot do. I could not build a garage out of bricks. I wouldn't change the oil on my own car. I wouldn't attempt some of the DIY things he does. Some of the mathematics that people can do on the fly like that, older generations. Chris Hubbard's father can do trigonometry in his head. So I will admit that I am more stupid than the people who came before. I also know that the generation younger than me are more stupid than me. You've probably found this in your own life. My theory of everything states that there is a finite amount of intelligence to go around. If we all came from the single source, there's nothing else being created. It all just comes from that one source. And human intelligence was part of that source. And now that the world is overpopulated, we've spread the total sum of intelligence much thinner than it used to be. Each generation, as the population increases, is having to take a smaller part of that intelligence. Intelligence is being watered down successive generation after generation. We are evolving in reverse. Eventually we will become amoeba. Pete, you've got something to say on this.
I want to read your book and join your cult. I couldn't agree with you more about the intelligence on this planet is becoming thinner and thinner.
It really is.
Tell me about it. I work a lot with the general public.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how stupid and sometimes it's beyond belief how they're becoming brainwashed by TV. They believe that soaps are real. The characters are real.
And they talk about them as if they're real people. And they go, "Oh, did you hear what happened to?" And I've been caught out. There'll be conversations. Someone will go, "Did you hear what happened to her?" And she did this, and I'll be like earwigging, and I'll go, "Look, where's this happened?" And they've gone, "On Corrie."
Yeah, absolutely. I sort of get into conversations, and I sometimes think, well, am I actually from Mars? Because I don't know what's going on here.
When you're in a relationship, you don't want somebody else chatting up your other half, do you? But a girlfriend, she didn't want any other ladies coming too close to her man, has found a very novel way of keeping them at bay. In a photograph published online, this lucky man can be seen wearing a T-shirt with not one but 3 images of his girlfriend's face on it. She's also very kindly printed a message on the bottom of the shirt as well, which reads, "If you're reading this, you're too close. I have a girlfriend."
I think there are some trust issues in this relationship.
You reckon?
Well, first of all, she doesn't trust him. And second of all, she doesn't trust every other woman in the world.
And in the photo as well, she looks delighted at it. He looks a bit nervous.
See, women usually use a much more subtle device. Fabric softener. Single men never use fabric softener. Because men don't understand, what does it do? It's fabric, it doesn't make fabric softer. It just gives it a fabric softener smell. So, men in relationships smell of fabric softener.
You're probably right.
Single men do not smell of fabric softener. So, when single women meet a man, they don't have to look for a wedding ring or anything. They just go, fabric softener. No, he's taken. Fabric softener is usually used by women to mark their property.
Bob's Breakfast.
Been on about romance and romantic gestures. And what is the most romantic gesture that anyone's ever made? Pixie.
We were due to go on a picnic date.
Yeah.
And it was our second date. And he said, leave it all to me. And then it started raining. And I mean, it stormed all day.
Yeah.
And I was dreading it. And he said, no, still come round, I'm taking you on a picnic. And I went round and he'd got an old picnic hamper. And he'd spent all day spray painting it and making it up because it was in pieces.
Right.
And he'd lay a bunch of flowers all over the floor to make it like it was outside. And he'd put a blanket out. And
Oh, you did this inside?
he made an indoor picnic because we couldn't go and have a picnic.
Ah, that's really nice. What's his name?
Craig.
And how long ago was this?
2.5, 3 years.
And you're still together?
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
a keeper, Pixie. He's
He
a
is.
keeper.
He is.
He is. All right. Hey, thank you very much for sharing. That's lovely.
That's okay.
If somebody said to you you could fill your car up for a matter of 20 pence, you would be over to that petrol station in a shot, no doubt. Well, a computer glitch has allowed motorists in the US state of Ohio to fill their tanks for exactly that. Now, what happened is there was some sort of error with the petrol pumps, and it meant that some of the prices on Sunday morning went as low as $0.01 per gallon. This happened at one petrol station. That inadvertently then triggered a price war with a petrol station across the road who thought, hang on a minute, we don't want them all going over there.
He thought it was a stunt.
So they
Brilliant.
lowered their prices as well. So this was going on until the problem was all rectified and became clear a little bit later. But one customer said he filled his empty tank for 18 pence as a result of this, which was amazing. Understandably, people were queuing for miles to try and get some cheap petrol here. But the people across the road thought, you know what, we're not going to miss out on this. We need to stay competitive, as you might find if you go into Stevenage, the likes of Tesco and Asda competing. I don't know if they would do the same, though.
I don't know. I have experience of reducing petrol prices. As you know, I started out on the radio in Australia.
Yeah.
And the second radio station I worked for, I did the breakfast show at 5SE was the name of the station, in Mount Gambier in South Australia. And for some reason, every weekend a petrol station was having a birthday.
Really?
It's the only place I've lived where petrol stations were continually having a birthday.
Yeah.
And so you could make extra money on the weekend if you went out representing the radio station. Mm-hmm. And you did, they call them an OB, an outside broadcast, and you would call into the station and say, yeah, I'm here at the BP on the such and such road and whatever, and it's their first birthday, it's an extravaganza, which meant they had balloons.
And crazy prices.
Come on down now, come and say hi. And then we'd have like 1 hour or something. There'd be a time limit where we'd reduce petrols to just a stupid price. So you would stand around. It was like you'd have to be there for like 4 hours. You'd stand around for 3 hours doing nothing. And you always have to blame the weather. Doesn't matter which way the weather's going, by the way. Because the manager of the petrol station, he'll always say to you, there's not as many people here as I thought there'd be. And you go, it's the weather, isn't it? And if it was raining, you go, this weather, no one wants to come out. And if it was sunny, you go, this weather, no one wants to come out of the petrol station. They're all down the beach. So no matter what the weather was doing, you blame the weather.
Yeah.
And hardly anyone would show up. And then you'd go, we're reducing petrol to something like 20 cents a litre or whatever the stupid price was. People would come from everywhere. They'd be queued up down the street. Most of them wouldn't get it in the time limit. There'd be that many cars. People would miss out. Because, of course, I was the one that had to put the fuel in. Because that was the deal.
Oh, right.
It wasn't like, you couldn't just show up and fill up yourself. I had to fill up all the cars. So they're getting angry and beeping that, no, I'm a bad guy. Horrible. Horrible. And to try and make people show up, you would have a sausage sizzle, not a barbecue. Because in Australia, barbecue, oh no, you have to have steak.
Right.
But a sausage sizzle, the radio station had its own gas barbecue. And you'd fry sausage. So
At a petrol station?
At a petrol station. So you're risking life and limb, right? You've got an open flame, pressurised gas. You're cooking sausages. No one's showing up. The manager's whining that there's nobody there. You're blaming the weather. And then for one crazy hour, you're putting as much petrol into angry people's cars as you can. I don't recommend Bob FM taking this from the Australian.
Bob's Breakfast.
Now, hey, we had a lovely night on Friday because, you know, Martin, who is the boy wunderbar, he's been flown in from Germany, especially for this programme. This is his last week at Bob FM before Germany takes him back. They want him back. And we can't blame them because he's been great.
Exactly.
He's been quite the addition, not only to the show, but to the radio station in general. So I can understand why the Fatherland is calling you back.
I'm glad to hear that.
Do you still call it the Fatherland, or is that a...
No, I don't
right.
think
Okay, that's an awkward reference. Let's laugh nervously and move
anymore.
on. Yeah. Anyway, we had a nice night. We went for a curry. Went to the Bombay in Old Town in Stevenage. You had your first ever curry.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, when people have loosened up, had a few drinks, they start letting out a few things. And Bev, who in our news team, she was bragging about her blagging. She was wined and dined by the police. Not necessarily wined. She went to a police executive briefing or something.
Some kind of meeting, yeah.
And you know what journalists are like for free food.
Well, I don't know what you mean, Graham.
Well, they're all the same. But Bev with food, goodness me. So she was on about how many breakfasts she'd consumed that morning. Yeah. But fair enough, because she's in training for the London Marathon, so she is using her powers for good and not for evil.
Exactly,
yes. Yeah. So she was talking about that as a blag. Mm-hmm. Well, that got our sales manager, Kevin, talking about things he's blagged. And I think he's a bit of a freegan. I don't think he likes paying for food. He was talking about when he worked in sales at a newspaper, that often with newspapers, you never see those where you read the newspaper and there's an article about a new restaurant that's opened or a restaurant with a new menu or a new chef, and it's a news article. Well, usually those things, they're not necessarily, they're more advertorial, shall we say.
I see.
And to get them written, they invite the journalist to the restaurant.
Okay.
Kev was saying that when he was a sales manager in a newspaper, he often used to tag along to that meeting, which would work out well. Yeah, but look, it's every walk of life. When I was an air conditioning engineer, the contractor I worked at an oil refinery, but the contractor was a refrigeration company in the town in New Zealand, and they're called Cooline. And they had a bloke, a refrigeration engineer that worked for them, who used to go around the pubs with a thermometer and he would test the temperature of the beer for them.
Right.
So he was getting... He would take a thermometer and he'd order a beer and he'd put the thermometer in and he'd go, and he'd make some notes. And he was getting free drinks all over town.
Yeah. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, he was blagging them. It's almost backfired, but this story has a happy ending. He had, I think it was a week's holiday or something, and one of the pubs rang up Cooline and said, hey, that bloke hasn't been in this week to test the temperature of our beer. Because this refrigeration company had the contract for all the maintenance of all these places. So they went, what? And they found out what he was up to. So when he got back from holiday, they fired him. So then all of these other pubs and clubs started ringing and saying, hey, when's this? He hasn't been for weeks. And they were starting to threaten to cancel their maintenance contracts.
What?
Well, they weren't getting the service.
Okay. What, of getting a thermometer in their beer?
Yes, of getting the temperature tested weekly. So they had to rehire him.
Oh, wow.
Right. And it became part of his job.
Bob's Breakfast.
More than 1,100 patients have suffered from errors in hospitals so serious they should never happen over the past 4 years, according to a report. These are called never-ever events.
They shouldn't call them never-ever events because they've happened.
Well,
ever.
yeah, they have.
Just because they don't happen very often doesn't mean never-ever. Never-ever means they never happen. There's a clue in the name. Never-ever.
Just looking at some of the lists of things that went wrong. I mean, shocking stuff. The wrong hips, legs.
Whoa. The wrong... So someone needed one hip replacing.
Yep.
They replaced the good one.
That's right. Yeah. So legs. The wrong leg's been operated on.
What?
While more than 420 have also had foreign objects left inside them after operation. So this includes gauzes, swabs, drill guides, scalpel blades and needles as well. 420 people.
Well, that one, leaving stuff behind, suggests overworked.
It would do.
Medical staff, doesn't it? That because, you know, if something gets missed like that, that suggests that people are working the hours are too long.
Yeah, the attention's
that suggests
going.
that. I don't know. The other one were the wrong thing. I heard of this once. It was a story from America. There's a company called Vital Smarts that I don't know if they still exist, and they research companies' culture to see how they can make them better, more profitable companies. And they've worked with some of the Fortune 500 companies in America.
Yeah.
And they looked at a case in America where someone had the wrong foot amputated.
Oh, no.
And they looked into the circumstances around this specific case, specifically at this one hospital with these specific people and the specific surgeon and whatever. And what they found was the culture within that particular hospital was surgeons were held on such a higher plane than the rest of the staff.
I think that's still the case in many places.
And you don't question the surgeon. And they found out that on the way there was more than one person, but said, wait a second, is that the right foot? And there was anaesthetists and people who were more junior than a surgeon.
Yeah.
Didn't dare question. It's not that they questioned and were told shut up.
Yes.
Because of the culture of the place, they didn't dare question the surgeon, and that's how the mistake happened. And they found out that, you know, company's culture needs to be changed. It was funny because not long after it was at a convention in the States I went to once, a radio convention. They had these people from Vital Smarts come and talk to us. I got back to Britain and I was working, well, it doesn't exist anymore, so I can say it was BRMB radio in Birmingham. And and they definitely had that culture where you did not question the programming department. You hear about the incident that happened. It's a very famous one in British radio. It went round the world. There was a concert, the Party in the Park, that the radio station put on every year. Big concert, big stars, big top 40 pop stars were on it. And they did a promotion called The Coolest Seats in the House that they'd stolen from a radio station. I think it was my mates at the Edge in Auckland, New Zealand, JJ and Dom. They'd done Coolest Seats in the House, where they got listeners to sit on blocks of ice, and who could sit on the blocks of ice the longest won the tickets. It's a stupid contest, but anyway. But they stole it from them, but they had to give it a twist, and they used dry ice. Which is frozen CO2.
That's not a good idea.
Well, it burns.
Well, yes.
And these people, at least 3 of them, were in the burns unit of the hospital in Birmingham while the concert was on. But clearly, there's warnings on dry ice. Do not come into contact with the skin and all that. Loads of people would have read them, but my theory is they were too scared to say anything because of the culture of the place at that time, and people get hurt. So if that's what's gone on with all these things, that it's in the NHS, that it's certain, because it won't be it's all different hospitals, all different departments.
Absolutely, yeah.
But in any organisation where there's that culture of fear, bad things are going to happen.
Bob's Breakfast.
Stop the show. Martin, you seem to be confused about some... now, Martin, let me just explain, has been flown in from Germany, especially for this programme. He's an intern, which means he's learning everything. You're studying at a university college in Stuttgart?
Not in Stuttgart.
Where is it?
It's more towards the border of France. It's in Offenburg, which is sort of near Freiburg, would be the next biggest town you might know.
That's what I thought, yeah. Anyway, so you're learning everything. I'm learning about the geography of Europe through you, and you're learning everything about radio. And you say you've noticed... We went out for a curry because this is your last week. We went out for a curry on Friday night.
That's true,
You've noticed something as a result of the curry, something I haven't seen yet.
Yes, well, I've seen the photos yesterday. I got them sent. And I noticed that you always manage to look good on photos. You know, like some people always manage to have their eyes closed or look somehow... strange ways or whatever. And you always manage to look good on photos. How do you do that?
Well, and this is true. When I'm having my photograph taken, I look down the camera as if I'm looking at Julie, my wife. I always look as if I'm looking at her.
Oh, right.
So I think something happens is I'm looking at somebody who I love, when someone looks at a photograph of me, they go, he looks like he loves me. That's my theory.
Oh, that's quite nice.
I don't know whether it's something that you can steal. If you're worried about it, if you've got something coming up, a big event or a wedding or something, look down the barrel of the camera and look at the person you love the most. And I think you'll find you take a better picture.
Bob's Breakfast.
A female plane passenger has stunned onlookers by taking off her skirt after becoming frustrated with long security delays at Stansted Airport. The 29-year-old was left standing in leggings after being held up, catching her Ryanair return flight to Barcelona from Stansted. Now the case is...
Wait a second.
Yeah,
So she's in airport security, which is a degrading experience, let's face it.
Yep.
And... let me also point out that in the history of airport security being tightened, they've never found one suspect package or anything. Ever. They've never, of all the millions of people around the world every day that they've searched, they've never found anything. Ever. But they reckon they're going to find something one day.
What do those swabs do? You know, when they read through your bag, they take your camera out. They want you to turn your camera on, turn it off again. Then they swab it.
Yeah.
What's the point
no
of
one
that?
knows. No one knows. But they've never found anything ever. But anyway, this is how important it is.
Yeah.
She's getting a bit upset about the invasion of privacy. Surely, if she's getting upset about that, if you're a bit worried about them getting a bit too intimate, wouldn't it be more important to keep the skirt on?
I think it was just to draw attention that people have been waiting there for a lengthy amount of time. I'm not entirely sure what motivated her to take the skirt off in the first place, because it seems a bit of a bizarre thing to do.
Yes.
But now...
so they arrested her and she ends up in the cell?
Yeah.
What, for taking her skirt off?
Well, she was arrested for disorderly behaviour and criminal damage after she ripped up a police codes of practice. So she
as well. Right, so she really had a hissy fit.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Now she's been fined £150 at Chelmsford Magistrates Court as well. So this is the situation that she found herself in.
I do suspect. First of all, the fact that they've never found anything in all these airport security checks, when you consider how many, billions of them must be going on right now simultaneously as we speak, and they've never found anything, that shows, well, number one, that they really don't know what they're looking for, but they really don't understand human nature either. They ask you to take your shoes off.
Yeah.
Because they're worried that you might have a bomb in your shoes. They ask women to take their shoes off. What woman is going to blow up her shoes?
Bob's Breakfast.
How'd you like £100,000? All you got to do is get hit by Jeremy Clarkson. This bloke that Clarkson lamped is now getting 100 grand. Tell you what, and he only hit him once. Clarkson could hit me all day for that kind of money, I tell you. So this morning we're talking about when you've managed to get an apology and maybe it was even worth something. Now, I managed to do this. There is a well-known telecommunications company that messed me about, meaning that we didn't have a working telephone over the Christmas period. And I rang them up and said, this isn't good enough and whatever. And they offered me compensation of £14. So I thought, well, I'll go for it here. I said, no, I think I was looking for a figure of more like 100. They said, we'll call you back. They called me back, gave me 65 quid, which I think is the result. What do you think, Keith?
I think you've done well, actually.
Yeah.
I've been flying with you for years myself.
Yeah, well, don't be ringing the faults line. You got to ring the customer care line. It's the only way to get anything done. Customer care.
In this game, I'm in customer care as well, and people you always try and be nice to them. I would give them a shirt off my back if need be, but
yeah.
So if you phone me, I'll give you a shirt off my back.
I used to run a radio station on the South Coast, and when people used to call up and complain, usually about something I'd said, rather than them go to Ofcom, I used to bribe them. I used to give them cinema tickets or albums or concert tickets or whatever I had lying about, because we always got free stuff. And I used to go, thank you very much for calling up. I will tell the presenter. I wouldn't tell them they were talking to me. And I used to just bribe them. I used to give them stuff. Once you've given them something, there's no way they're going to take it further. They'd have to be a real horrible person to do that. And after time, they just want to get it off their chest anyway.
Yeah, so you act as ombudsman for all your listeners.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well done, mate.
When I was growing up in the 1980s, virtual reality was a massive thing. Those massive headsets. This was going to be the future of technology. Then it all fell flat on its face. But now, Samsung is betting big money on virtual reality. They're offering free headsets to people who pre-order their new Galaxy S7 or S7 Edge phones. This headset was launched in 2015 and works with these new phone models, which were unveiled on Sunday.
Waste some money, not going to happen.
Well,
Do you know why?
They're putting loads of money into this. Why is this?
It's wearable tech.
Of course. Yes.
Wearable tech, the nerds have been telling us wearable tech is the next big thing. And every attempt at wearable tech has been a disaster. Okay. Of course, there's the Apple Watch that nobody owns. Every time I mention it, I'm going to say it once again. If you own an Apple Watch, call me now, 01438 422 106. No one ever calls. If you want some quiet time alone, go into any busy Apple store and go to the Apple Watch table. There's never anyone anywhere near it. No one's interested in wearable tech, only the nerds that tell you that you'll be interested in wearable tech. It's like when you go to a concert and the band says, and now we're going to play something from our new album. and everybody kind of go to the bar and the toilet. That's what wearable tech does.
Okay.
It's basically technology's version of, and now here's something from our new album. No one wants to hear the wearable tech thing. Okay, that was the Apple Watch. Does anyone remember Google Glass?
Of course, yes. That never got launched.
It never took off. Never even got marketed properly. Google Glass, it was wearable tech. And now, virtual reality headsets. Sorry, Samsung. Virtual reality is one thing, actual reality is a different one. The actual reality is nobody wants wearable tech. It's a sad day at Bob FM. It's the final day when we have the services of Martin, the boy Wunderbar, who has been flown in from Germany, especially for this program for the last 5 months. Been an intern at Bob FM. And along the way, a strange thing happened. You picked up a fan. A fan in Germany. She sent us this second email now she sent us. Says
quite bizarre.
She's going to miss your contributions to Bob FM. She lives in Stuttgart. Her name is Bettina. And you don't know anything about her.
No.
You're from Wendlingen, which is near Stuttgart. So this is either an amazing coincidence or someone who knows you from Germany.
Yes, that's what scares me a bit.
What, that you might know her?
Yeah, it's all very strange.
Well, you might be able to see her tonight. You're flying back tonight. She might meet you at the airport. You never know. Hello, Bettina.
Hello.
It's Graham Mack and Martin calling from Bob FM. You're live on the radio in the UK right now and around the world on the internet.
Oh my God.
All right. Now you are an international lady of mystery.
No, I'm not.
Well, you are to us. We don't know anything about you. So why do you listen to Bob FM in Stuttgart?
Well, I decided to go to England about 1.5 years ago with a girlfriend.
Right.
And I wanted to, improve my English, so I decided to have a look in the internet about, to see a good English radio channel.
Yes.
And so I found Bob FM.
Right. And so how often do you listen to us?
Well, quite often.
Yes.
Because I heard this What's Bob Doing?
Right, okay.
About 1.5 years.
Yeah, it's been going a long time. It has. Yeah, it's worth 2,580 quid. That's got to be over 3,000 euros right now.
I know.
Yeah?
I'm still following it.
Right, okay.
But it was at 8:30 at the beginning.
Yes.
And now you put it on 7:30.
Yes, we've moved. You even know that we moved the time of What's Bob Doing. That's what a fan you are of this show. Yeah. So you must have been delighted when you heard that we had a German on the show.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Well,
it's great.
Now, do you
and
know?
I think he's doing very fine, very good.
He is.
In the contest. But you don't think so?
You're talking about the international contest of jokes, which we play before 9 o'clock. It's the grand final today. Either the UK or Germany will be victorious. Yes.
I know.
He's 18 points clear.
Win.
Yeah, but he's 18 points behind. It's unlikely.
I know.
Yes. Right. So
but
you are quite the fan. Yes. He's here. You do tell him.
You always tell that you can give more than 1 or 2 points.
Yes, I can give. Yes, maybe I'll give more points today if the joke's good enough. All right. Now, do you know, because he's from Wendlingen, how far away from Stuttgart is that, Bettina?
Oh, I've no idea.
Right, okay. You don't even know the town.
See, that's how important Wendlingen is.
I don't know Martin.
You don't know him, because we see that from we think, well, this must be one of his family.
No.
Okay. Now Martin is 20. Are you in a relationship right now, Bettina?
No, I'm not.
You're young, free, and single.
But he could be my son, I would say. I'm 46.
Okay. Right. Okay. I was just because he goes back tonight. He will be in Stuttgart tonight.
So you think I have to have a big piece of paper with Martin and a heart on it?
Well, I don't. I wasn't suggesting you go that far because Martin is looking very scared at this moment. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea, Bettina.
No.
Maybe I have to prolong my stay.
Maybe no. You're going back tonight, mate.
I won't do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I tell you what, it's lovely to speak to you. You speak excellent English, which is fantastic. So your trip to England was well worth it. You definitely you got the hang. You got the hang. You got a damn sight better than I have by the sound of things with me right now. You got the hang of the lingo. You got it going. Yeah. And it's lovely to know that you're there. Well, are you still going to continue listening to us when Martin's not on the programme? That's
sure.
Sure. Okay, good. Bettina, lovely to talk to you, and I hope you continue to listen even when Martin's not on the programme.
Sure,
this is his last day. And the International Contest of Jokes is coming up. We'll see who will be victorious, the UK or Germany. Bettina in Stuttgart, thank you very much. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
Bob's Breakfast.
A BBC weather reporter the other day fainted live on the TV. This is Southeast Today. Her name's Rachel Mackley. This is some audio of it. It's not great audio, but you can hear she says, I'm going to faint.
Really bright start. By the afternoon, then we're going to be seeing outbreaks of rain, temperatures at around 8 or 9 degrees. So sorry, I'm going to faint.
She says, I'm going to faint. I wonder if it's because she's actually doing the weather forecast while she's doing her laundry.
There's a washing machine.
That's the washing machine, isn't it? Nancy, good morning.
Fainting. I've only ever fainted once in my life.
Yes.
But it was really quite spectacular. I was an ODP, which is an operating department practitioner.
What does that mean?
When I was, it means you're a surgical assistant. You're the scrub nurse. You do the anaesthetic assistant. You do
in the operating theatre. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So it's you do all the nursing duties that are in the theatres. But anyway, I was scrubbed up about midnight one night, doing an appendectomy, and everything was going very far, quite well. And there was only myself and another nurse on, plus this doctor doing this stuff. And the next thing I know, I just sort of felt like a falling tree. You get this horrible feeling.
Wow.
And I just sort of started to go backwards, and all the instruments in my hand went up in the air and behind me, apparently. And the next thing I know, I woke up, I'm just out in the corridor on a trolley. Very unceremonious.
You went to work as a medical professional and ended up as a patient.
I did.
But
one that I wasn't being looked after. They couldn't give a toss about me on the trolley.
Oh, really?
Well, they had to scrub up.
Oh, of course, they've got work to do. They've got work. They've got to find a replacement and carry on. So you didn't even get a glass of water or anything?
Nothing. I just sort of toddled back into the theatre and carried on doing what I had to do.
You carried on working?
Afterwards. Yeah, well, you got to.
Do you know what it was down to? Do you know what the problem was?
Well, I was getting married in 2 days' time, and I think I was just stressed out of my bonds.
Yeah, lack of sleep.
And probably, lack of sleep, lack of food, too much work.
Yes. All right, Nancy, thanks for sharing.
Okay.
One of the world's most famous astronauts believes a human colony should be established on Mars.
This is Buzz Aldrin. I should have been there.
I know.
This is Buzz Aldrin, second man to walk on the moon. He gave a talk. It was an interview with Brian Cox at the Science Museum yesterday.
That's right, yeah.
It was only £10 a ticket,
Is that all it was?
That's all it was.
Wow.
And I went online, Julie went online and tried all morning. I think there are something like 400 tickets or something sold out in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But then yesterday, we worked out we'd missed a trick because Buzz was not only giving the talk, he was also signing his book.
Okay.
So Julie's friend Kira, whose son is right into space and everything, they went down there and got a book signed.
Fantastic.
But they didn't have tickets I thought you had to have tickets to the event. We should have just gone.
Yeah. Well, would have
and
sold
met Buzz Aldrin.
and met him. I mean, it's always very brief on these occasions, isn't
Doesn't
it?
matter. It's Buzz Aldrin. He walked on the damn moon. Only 12 people did that, and I think only about 7 of them are still alive.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, Neil Armstrong died, the first man on the moon, and he was on the same flight. He was on Apollo 11 with Buzz. Pete Conrad has died. Didn't Edgar Mitchell die a couple of weeks ago as well? They're in their 80s now, most of the moonwalkers.
Yeah. So why did he decide to go to the Science Museum? Was it just purely to promote his book and talk about that, or?
Don't know. It's a tour to England. He's got a new book out, which he's been talking about for a while. Because something you forget about the astronauts. When they went to the moon, when Kennedy said, we're going to go to the moon and we're going to put a man on the moon and bring him safely to the Earth, when they did that, America's total space flight experience was 14 minutes. Alan Shepard went up and straight down, didn't even orbit. Yuri Gagarin, the Russian, had already orbited the Earth. Alan Shepard just went up and came down.
And that was it.
That was it. So they had to design from scratch the rockets and the spacecraft to take them to the moon and bring them home. It's not like when someone says, I'm going to go, round the world in a balloon or a boat. We've already got balloons and boats. We didn't have spacecraft. They just didn't exist. They had to invent them along the way. And the astronauts were involved in the process of designing and building the spacecraft and working out the guidance systems with very limited computers. The computer in your watch has got more computer power than the lunar module on Apollo 11.
Of course, yeah.
And Buzz, his big thing, they nicknamed him Doc Rendezvous. I mean, he was very, very experienced at EVA, they call it, extravehicular activity. That's when they leave the spacewalk, which is what the moonwalk was going to be. But the moonwalk itself, pretty easy, because by the time they did the moonwalk in '69, they'd already had experience of spacewalks on the Gemini flights, and Buzz was probably the most experienced American spacewalker, EVA. So they needed an expert on that. Buzz was the number one for that. But they also called him Doc Rendezvous because he'd worked out all the mechanics of docking 2 spacecraft together in space. And because the vehicle that landed on the moon was a different vehicle to the one that brought them home, without the docking, it couldn't be done. They had to do lunar rendezvous. And Buzz worked it out. And here's how much they didn't know about rendezvous when the Americans first went into space. They decided on one of the first, I think it was one of the Mercury missions, they were going to try and rendezvous, basically get closer to the rocket that had launched the spacecraft into space. So they decided to get the astronaut to slow down. The capsule slow down. The rockets boosted him into orbit, and they decided if he slows down, the rocket that boosted him will catch up. So he slows down, and the rocket gets further away. So he slows down a bit more, gets even further away. What they hadn't worked out, orbital mechanics, means that if you slow down, you drop into a lower orbit, and if you drop into a lower orbit, you go faster.
Right.
If you go faster, if you make the capsule go faster, you go into a higher orbit, and a higher orbit you go slower, which is how we got communication satellites. You go far enough out, you're going so slow, you're exactly the same point as a point on Earth, which is, I think it's about 30,000 odd miles away. It's called the Clark Belt. That's how we keep, They didn't know any of that. But Buzz worked out rendezvous in space. It's very, very complicated. Because you're either in orbit around the Earth or in orbit around the moon, or you're somewhere between the two. Buzz worked it out. Well, he also has worked out a system based on the free return trajectory. You remember in the movie Apollo 13, which is the true story of what happened?
Yeah.
They needed to get them home. On the way to the moon, they had an explosion in the service module. On the way to the moon. Now, you'd say, well, we've got to bring them home. They could turn them round and bring them back. No, they worked out it was more efficient for them to go all the way, carry on to the moon, come round the back of the moon and take the slingshot effect from that to bring them home. Because there's a particular orbit you can put yourself into that automatically brings you back to Earth.
Oh.
It's called a free return trajectory. Buzz has worked out a free return trajectory between the Earth and Mars. And he says what we should be doing is putting a spacecraft into a continual free return trajectory between Earth and Mars. That way, if we want to go to Mars, all we have to do is have a vehicle that launches from Earth and rendezvous with it when it's going past Earth, and then another vehicle that lands, or even the same vehicle maybe, that lands on Mars when it gets to Mars. And we can colonize Mars gradually by having this perpetual free return trajectory going on, which is also what they should have done with the moon. And we should have a moon base up there by now. Buzz Aldrin worked that all out, and that's what his new book's about.
Wow. This sounds fascinating.
Yes! And I never really got there because I applied for a ticket.
Yeah.
Well, Julie tried to do it. It was impossible.
Yeah.
It was trending on Twitter. A lot of people, when they see Buzz Aldrin trending on Twitter at the age he is, it's scared. But anyway, no. It was because they couldn't get tickets. But he was at the Science Museum yesterday, gave this talk, and he was signing a book. And Julie's friend just said, "Why?" She just went down and got the book signed. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
That is incredible.
So what's Buzz saying now? But the other thing is, no one's listening to Buzz. No one at NASA is listening to Buzz.
I mean, this guy's got form. It's not like he's some sort of crackpot.
He walked on the damn moon, first, but he was Doc Rendezvous. He's a very, very clever man. He worked out rendezvous in space. Not an easy thing to do. And he hasn't been given the credit for that. Most people just think Buzz Lightyear.
Yes. Yeah. Well, now he reckons humans could touch down on Mars by 2040. So he reckons people from the generation born around the year 2000 are likely to be the first making the journey for this. So this is one of the things that he talked about.
If NASA paid any attention to it.
This is the thing.
Because Buzz is experienced at EVA, experienced spacewalker and moonwalker, Doc Rendezvous, but he's also worked out the business that NASA are in. What I've been saying all along. NASA think they are somehow involved in science or some form of aviation or something. NASA are in show business. If you ask anybody to tell you what they know about when we went to the moon, they'll tell you two things. Didn't a bloke hit a golf ball, and didn't they drive a cool car?
Yes.
That's all they did on the moon. Now, they did scientific stuff too. But the stuff that the public's imagination was fired by was Alan Shepard hitting that golf ball and the likes of John Young and Charlie Duke driving that car. That was what was cool. It's showbiz. And it, like in the movie The Right Stuff, no bucks, no Buck Rogers. If you want the American taxpayer, or at the moment the British taxpayer, who are paying for Tim Peake to go on what's a joyride in a tin can, there's no entertainment value in that. We've seen people suck that globule of water in weightlessness down their gullets. We've seen that 1,000 times. We've seen it a lot. He's not doing anything new. They've got to do something entertaining with space. How cool would it be to see a bloke hit a golf ball or drive a car on Mars? This is what we should be doing.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, the prospect of going to Mars, doing something on Mars, far more exciting.
Space travel is boring. And we've only left the Earth's atmosphere, we've only left, like, you know when the International Waste of Space Station is orbiting Earth? Do you know how far away it is? It's less than 200 miles away. It's like from here to Manchester away. That's where it is. It's not exploring space. It's just doing laps 200 miles up. We've only left the orbit of Earth 9 times. And we haven't done it since the early 70s. It's about time NASA pulled their fingers out and started putting on a better show. I'm Graham Mack, and I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, make sure you share it on Facebook and Twitter, and you can subscribe at iTunes. The International Contest of Jokes Grand Final. For the past 5 months, Martin, who's been flown in from Germany, especially for this programme, has been telling jokes, and I've been awarding points. He's been up against Bonzi, the home county's greatest joke teller, who's also been telling jokes and getting points as well. It's Martin's last day in the country. 8 o'clock tonight, you're back on that plane. You'll be landing at Stuttgart before the end of the night. So kind of a sad day, really, but this is unfinished business. We need to finish this off. OK, UK 62 points, Germany 45 points. Bonzi.
Oh, I know, it's worrying, isn't it?
It is worrying. So.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Today's joke will be worth 18 points. So whoever has the best joke today, their nation will be declared the winner in the international contest of jokes. An awesome responsibility rests on both of your shoulders.
Quite some pressure there.
Absolutely. Martin, I'm going to get you to go first.
All right.
Okay.
Now, this joke is about Mozart. And when he was buried in a churchyard in Vienna when he died. And a few days after the funeral, the town drunk walked past his grave. Now, suddenly he heard some really strange sounds coming from the grave. And he was very terrified and went to the vicar. And the vicar listened as well, and without any doubt, there was music coming from the grave. But the most bizarre music you could imagine. Now, the vicar was just as frightened as the drunk, and they both decided that they would call for the magistrate. By the time the magistrate arrived, quite a crowd of people had already gathered around the grave to see what's going on there. The magistrate bent his ear to the grave and listened, and after a while said, "Ah, yes, this is Mozart's 9th Symphony, played backwards." He listened a while longer and said, "Oh, and here's the 8th one, backwards as well." A while later, when the 7th starts playing, he realized what's going on. He said, "Citizens, there's no need to worry. I know what's going on here. That's just Mozart decomposing."
I gotta say, it's not looking good for Germany at this stage.
You haven't heard mine.
At the moment, Germany on 45 points. The UK on 62 points. But today's round worth 18 points. Whoever wins today will be the winner for their country of the international contest of jokes. Bonzi, what did you think of the Boy Wunderbar's effort today?
Well, it could be good, it could be in the points, I reckon, but you never know. It's down to you at the end of the day. I mean, you've been an Englishman. You never know, you know.
Ooh, he's trying to play the patriotic card.
No, I'm just saying.
All right, yeah.
Sure.
You just backpedal there, because I've taken points off for unsportsmanlike behaviour before. What is the entry for the UK then, Bonzi?
Right, this is a young woman, stowaway, has been found on a ship and taken
Stowaway.
to the captain.
She's a stowaway.
A stowaway,
Okay,
yeah. And the captain says, "How long have you been here?" She says, 10 days. She says, "I'm trying to get to the Far East." "How have you survived all that time?" "Well, your second officer has been very kind. He's given me a meal every night and let me sleep in his cabin." "Has he demanded anything in return?" "Well, he's been taking advantage of me," she says. He said, "I'll certainly say yes." He said, "This is a Woolwich Ferry."
Fine joke.
Not looking good for Germany, though.
Not looking good at all for Germany. In fact, the 18 points should go to Bonzi. He had a better joke than you.
But
well, you see, Bonzi, I'm a fair man. I like to play a fair game. And I don't know if you've noticed, but you have had a distinct advantage in this game.
No, I didn't notice.
You didn't notice? You didn't notice?
No.
You didn't notice? No. Okay. Let me just point something out to you then. Martin's first language is not English. Now, speaking another language is hard enough. Telling a joke in another language, with all the inflection and what it's a much, much more difficult thing to do. So to be fair, Bonzi,
I see what you're saying.
I am prepared to give you the full 18 points, making you the winner, as long as you can retell your joke in German.
9.
Sorry?
9.
You know what?
No way.
You're sitting on the full 18 points there.
And I'm man enough to hand it over to him because he can obviously tell it in German and English.
Yes, he can do it. Yes.
You probably got the point. Yeah, give him the point. And that means we send away a comedian.
He came over as a boy and we're sending them back a comedian. Bonzi, I like how sporting you've been. That is it now. Well done, Germany!
Well done, Germany.
Bob FM says Auf Wiedersehen to Martin. Bob's Breakfast.